Have you ever paused and truly wondered how those ancient ascetics, sages, and yogis developed such extraordinary abilities, such vast inner clarity, and almost supernatural wisdom? How did they unlock the secrets of the universe simply by sitting in deep silence? We often speak about their sadhana, their mantras, their years of tapasya, but we rarely look at the quiet foundation that held their entire spiritual world together. A foundation so simple that it hides in plain sight, woven directly into their relationship with food, or more precisely, their deliberate restraint from it. What if I told you that eating only once a day was not a punishment, not a forced vow, and not a rigid rule of penance, but a refined science created to align the body with the subtle movements of universal energy? It was never meant to be a diet plan. It was an ancient doorway, a coded key that unlocks higher consciousness. Even the thought of surviving on one meal a day feels strange in an era where we reach for food every few hours. Yet our ancestors understood something profound. They knew that the energy we spend constantly digesting food, if conserved, can be transformed into ojas, a luminous force, a sacred vitality capable of lifting an ordinary human into the state of an awakened yogi. Today, we will walk into this forgotten valley of knowledge. Together we will uncover why ancient gurus preferred one mindful meal instead of many scattered ones. We will not imitate the scriptures blindly. We will understand the living science beneath them, the science that reveals how food, energy, and consciousness are deeply intertwined. We will also explore how this timeless practice can become a powerful tool even in the modern world, not only for physical health, but for expanding awareness and elevating the mind. So prepare yourself, because the secret you are about to rediscover was once whispered only in hidden caves, quiet ashrams, and Himalayan forests. The principle known as Ek Bhakta was not the personal decision of a single saint. It was a pillar of a vast knowledge system that today we call Sanatana Dharma. Its essence is scattered across yoga, Ayurveda, the Vedas, and the teachings of countless masters. To understand this deeply, we must first revisit the idea of mitahar, the discipline of balanced nourishment. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes the qualities of a yogi and explains that one who is balanced in food, in movement, in action, in sleep, and in wakefulness, becomes capable of removing sorrow through yoga. Here, the word balance does not refer to choosing the right ingredients only. It refers to an entire attitude toward eating. It is the mindset of treating the body like a sacred instrument that needs only the required fuel and not endless stimulation for the senses. The ancient yogis took this principle to its highest expression. Texts like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which function almost like guidebooks for spiritual aspirants, clearly instruct that a yogi should fill only half the stomach with food. 1/4 should remain for water. The last quarter must stay empty for the free movement of air and energy, and for cultivating divine awareness. This might sound symbolic, but it is rooted in precise science. The sages saw the human body as a cosmic laboratory, a living vessel governed by principles much deeper than simple nutrition. According to Ayurveda, the body contains Agni or Jatharagni, the digestive fire responsible for turning food into life energy. When we eat constantly without, that fire weakens. Just like a flame that struggles when too many sticks are thrown into it without rhythm. Improper digestion creates am, a toxic residue that becomes the root of heaviness, illness, and mental agitation. But when a seeker eats once with awareness, he gives his inner fire the space to grow powerful. This intense Agni digests food thoroughly, extracts its pure essence, and burns away the accumulated am. This refined essence eventually becomes ojas, the subtle brilliance that brings glow to the face, clarity to the thoughts, and strength to the soul. Ancient texts describe 4 types of people based on their food habits. The one who eats only once becomes the yogi, the master of energy. The one who eats twice becomes the bogi, the enjoyer of worldly pleasures. The one who eats thrice invites illness. And the one who eats repeatedly throughout the day becomes a traitor to his own body. These categories may seem harsh, but they reveal a simple law of energy. For the gurus, eating was never about filling the belly. It was an offering, a conscious act of shaping and directing life force. Their aim was not just to sustain the body, but to transcend its limitations. But how does this transformation happen? How does a simple meal turn into the radiant force called Yogic? To understand this, we must go beyond physical digestion and step into the realm of energy. Even modern science acknowledges that digestion is one of the most energy-intensive processes in the human system. Imagine that your body receives 100 units of energy each day. Each time you eat, 60 to 70 of those units are diverted into the act of breaking down food, absorbing nutrients, and processing the intake. This energy is pulled from your brain, your muscles, your creativity, and even your emotional clarity. That is why we feel sluggish or sleepy after eating. When the body is constantly occupied with digestion, it does not have enough energy to create, to heal, to evolve, or to connect with higher states of awareness. But when digestion happens only once, the remaining energy rises upward. It begins repairing the body, sharpening the mind, and awakening the subtle layers of consciousness. This was the secret the ancient yogis lived by. The energy of our awareness, the very force that keeps us alive and conscious, is always drawn into the stomach whenever we eat. But the ancient yogis did not view this merely as a biological expenditure. They saw it as a movement within the grand play of prana. Prana is not just breath, it is the universal current that animates every corner of existence. In the human body, this single force expresses itself through 5 primary movements known as the Panchvayas. And to understand the mystery behind eating once a day, we must focus on 2 of them, Pranavayu and Apanavayu. Pranavayu resides in the chest and head, and its flow is upward. It draws in energy, refines it, and lifts the consciousness into states of alertness, clarity, and awakening. Every spiritual ability, every higher perception, and every step toward meditation depends on the strength of this upward-moving pranic force. Meanwhile, Apanavayu lives below the navel. Its flow is downward. Its job is elimination, grounding, pushing, releasing. It governs the expulsion of waste, the downward movement of digestion, and the heavier activities of the body. It is dense, earthy, and firmly pulling toward the lower regions. Here lies the true secret. These 2 forces work in opposite directions. When you eat food, the intelligence of your system immediately shifts into activating Apanavayu so that digestion can begin. During this time, the rising movement of prana is naturally pushed down. The body cannot send energy both upward and downward with full intensity at the same time. This internal tug-of-war is what we experience after every meal. The dominance of apana slows the prana. The mind becomes dull, the body becomes heavy, and the pull of consciousness drops into the stomach. This is also why meditating after a large meal feels almost impossible. The energy is flowing in the opposite direction. So what did the ancient masters do? They became architects of their own energy. By choosing to eat only once, they gave Apanavayu a specific window of time to perform its heavy work, usually 4 to 5 hours. After that period, Apana would quieten. The downward pull would stop. And the moment this downward force paused, something extraordinary happened. The prana that had been suppressed like a river trapped behind a dam would surge upward with tremendous strength. All the life force that would otherwise be spent digesting multiple meals was now liberated, and since there was no downward task to perform, this prana naturally rose toward higher centers of consciousness. It moved like a powerful stream breaking free from its barriers. So what happens when this ocean of rising prana travels upward, no longer entangled in digestion? Where does it go? This simple shift becomes the foundation of the profound yogic science called Kundalini awakening. The spine is not just a column of bones. It is a subtle pathway, an energetic staircase. Aligned along this inner pathway are 7 centers of awareness that we call chakras. In ordinary states, they remain dormant, like silent whirlpools holding vast but unused power. When prana becomes free, it acts as the fuel that wakes up these centers one by one. As apana calms, the upward-moving life force begins its ascent from the base of the spine at the Muladhara chakra. It travels through each chakra, cleansing, clearing, activating, and revealing new layers of consciousness. Each awakened chakra opens abilities, perceptions, and states of awareness that were previously inaccessible. The discipline of eating once becomes a direct offering into this inner fire, this kundalini yagna. Every hour spent without food becomes a moment where the yogi preserves vital force, allowing consciousness to climb higher and higher. Think of your body as a musical instrument, perhaps a sitar. If the strings are thick with dust or lying loose and untuned, can they produce beautiful music? Never. In the same way, if the body is constantly occupied with heavy digestion and filled with toxins created by overeating, how can the subtle melody of higher consciousness resonate through it? The practice of one mindful meal is like cleaning the instrument, tightening the strings, and preparing it to produce refined, delicate tones. When the digestive system rests for 20 hours, the body directs all its energy toward purification and repair. The nervous system becomes steady and quiet, and in this inner quietness, the sensitivity of a yogi multiplies beyond measure. This heightened sensitivity becomes the gateway to intuition, inner vision, clairvoyance, and other yogic abilities. Experiences that remain invisible to the ordinary senses become vivid to the yogi. Beyond this, the ancient masters understood the rhythm of nature itself. They knew that our digestive fire mirrors the fire of the sun. When the sun stands strong and bright at midday, our internal fire also burns at its highest. Food eaten at this time is digested quickly, efficiently, and converted into pure energy. After sunset, when the outer fire dims, the inner fire weakens as well. Eating late becomes like pouring water on embers, producing smoke instead of flame, toxins instead of vitality. This is why a yogi's single daily meal was always aligned with the sun's power. The purpose of this entire practice was not starvation but refinement. It was to achieve a state of lightness, a subtle delicacy within the body and mind. Lightness does not mean weakness. It means freedom, clarity, and weightlessness of consciousness, the kind of lightness that allows the inner being to rise, expand, and touch higher dimensions of awareness. When there is no heaviness inside the body, when the downward pull of energy becomes silent, the physical self begins to dissolve from awareness. The yogi seated in meditation forgets the boundaries of flesh and bone, and the mind becomes free to rise into an inner sky without limits. The practice of eating only once was never about denying the body. It was about breaking the invisible gravity that keeps consciousness tied down. It was the art of becoming light from the inside, not through starvation, but through mastery. This wisdom was never meant to stay locked in Himalayan caves or restricted to monks living in forests. Its laws are universal because they are built on the movement of energy itself. The real question is, how can we, living in a world of deadlines, screens, and constant stimulation, awaken even a fraction of this ancient power within our modern lives? The first truth is simple. This is not a competition and not a sudden leap. Throwing an untrained body directly into one meal a day can do more harm than good. The ancient masters spent decades refining their inner fire before they took such steps. We, too, must listen to our bodies and move gently, steadily, and patiently. The journey begins with awareness of what you eat and how your food affects your energy. Before thinking about reducing meals, it is essential to purify the quality of self. Slowly remove tamasic foods, heavy, stale, processed, and lifeless items that dull the mind. Reduce rajasic foods that overstimulate the senses, foods loaded with extreme spices, artificial flavors, or constant stimulation. Replace them with sattvic foods, fresh fruits, vegetables, wholesome grains, sprouts, nuts, and natural nourishment. Sattvic food is light, clean, and easy to digest. It does not create toxins, and it forms the base of your purification. the ground on which all higher practices rest. Step 2 is silence between meals. Break the unconscious habit of nibbling throughout the day. Set fixed times for your meals, whether you eat 2 or 3 times. Once those times are set, honor them. Avoid snacks, tea, biscuits, emotional eating, or boredom eating between meals. This simple discipline gives your digestive system the rest it has been craving. You will quickly notice your clarity improving, your emotions stabilizing, your focus sharpening. Step 3 is shortening the eating window. Once silence between meals becomes natural, you can begin practicing intermittent fasting, the bridge that gently leads toward one bhakta. Start with a 12-to-12 routine. Complete all meals within a 12-hour window, for example from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. For the next 12 hours, drink only water and allow the body to rest deeply. After a few weeks, when this becomes effortless, reduce the window further. Move into a 16-to-8 rhythm, where you fast for 16 hours and eat during an 8-hour window. For many, this looks like eating between noon and 8 p.m. This simple shift aligns your system with a natural cycle and prepares you to thrive on 2 calm meals instead of chaotic grazing. Step 4 is experiencing one bhakta. Only those who feel steady, energized, and comfortable with the 16-to-8 pattern should attempt it. And even then, it should begin as a weekly practice, not a daily discipline. Choose one day each week to eat a single wholesome meal at noon, aligned with the high point of the sun. Observe yourself throughout the day. Do you feel a gentle rise of energy? Do you feel more sensitive in meditation? Does the body feel lighter and more effortless? These experiences are signs that the pranic flow is beginning to shift. But remember, this path is not about punishing yourself. If you experience weakness, dizziness, or overwhelming discomfort, stop immediately. This journey is not about ego or proving anything. It is about awakening awareness. The time you save from eating should not be waste stress or distraction. Instead, use it for meditation, mantra, journaling, self-study, or creative expression. Only then does the unused digestive energy transform into pranic power. When we look back at the ancient masters who lived by 1 meal a day, we realize that it was never a harsh vow. It was a precise technique, a science of energy and consciousness. They understood that when the inner fire of digestion rests, the flame of awareness can rise. They learned how to reduce the downward pull of apanavayu, so that the upward movement of prana could take them toward divinity. By making their bodies light, refined, and transparent, they became vessels through which higher knowledge could naturally flow. Their aim was never sense pleasure, but liberation from the senses. And today, more than ever before, this wisdom is relevant. We live in a time where food is everywhere, where habit controls hunger, where attention is constantly pulled outward, and where energy leaks through endless distractions. You do not need to adopt one bhakta tomorrow, but you can adopt its spirit, the spirit of moderation, the spirit of conscious eating, the spirit of choosing clarity over heaviness. The next time you sit with a plate of food, pause. Ask yourself, am I feeding the body or feeding an old habit? Is this food nourishing me or draining me? Each bite is a choice between heaviness or lightness, between lethargy or awareness, between bondage or freedom. Our ancestors left us a key. Anyone who learns to master his food becomes the master of his energy, and one who masters his energy becomes the creator of his destiny. Reflect on this wisdom and take the first small step today. Even one simple change in the direction of consciousness can transform the entire journey ahead. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to breathe, to reflect, and to start now. If you found value in this journey, support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and sharing this wisdom with someone who is ready to awaken. Your engagement helps create more transformative content here at Esoteric Whispers.